So, I am joined once again for a very, very long time. You've not been on with Julian Goldie.
It's been too long, man. Long time no see.
So, today I want to speak about failures. I feel like that's pretty important to speak about, especially because a lot of people would look at your YouTube channel or at potentially even at your SEO agency and think, wow, Julian's a super successful guy. He's potentially landed a bit lucky, and it's his first time doing YouTube, or it's his first time setting up something, and everything's went to plan. Um, is that the case?
Absolutely not. No, I've had loads of different failures along the way, so we can talk about a few of those if you want today.
Yeah, let's do it. Again, like a lot of the time, I get asked at SEO conferences or potentially on podcasts and stuff. And the commonly asked question is, was SEO your first thing that you done? Did you do other things? Did you fail at other things? And I can certainly say that SEO wasn't the first thing I'd done. I wish it was, but it definitely wasn't. I tried everything, failed at a lot of things, but I also learned from a lot of things as well. But yeah, name three things, let's say, that you failed at, and let's do a bit of digging.
Yeah, so number one was Fiverr, and I used to sell blog writing on Fiverr.com. So I would sell 500 words for $5. That was probably the
Right.
first venture that I had online. So I was doing that, and obviously it's not very scalable. So it was a lot of long hours, maybe 60-hour weeks.
Were you writing the actual physical article? Right.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
no chat GPT, no AI, nothing.
Way before that. You're talking maybe 10 years ago, something like that. So I was making probably about $400 a month, working 60 hours a week, you know, making no money at all, essentially. I was so
Jesus.
cheap that, like other countries would outsource to me.
So obviously we're looking at that now, and from a business standpoint, that was obviously a failure. But what did you learn from that?
Well, I learned number one that you have to find something scalable that's actually going to
Hmm.
make you a decent amount of money, and that ties into knowing your own worth. Like if you don't value yourself, no one else will. No one's ever going to pay you more than you think you're worth. So when I was selling blogs for so cheap, it was because I didn't really respect my own time and my energy and what I could achieve and how much I could sell it for. For me, I was just like, right, I want my freedom. I want to be able to quit my 9 to 5 office job, and therefore I'll do whatever it takes. And so that was one of the lessons. And then even though it wasn't that high paying, it still gave me the freedom and the belief in myself to say, actually, I can make something work online. Like I can set up my own business and I can have the freedom to work anywhere in the world if I put my mind to it. So it was kind of like liberating in a way, because even though I wasn't getting paid that much, I still learned how to build my own business and make a recurring income stream. And then the final thing that I learned was if you want to build something that actually makes money sustainably, it can't rely on you. If it relies on you, you've not built a business, you're just a freelancer.
Yeah, exactly that. I think there was somebody that said this in Vietnam. Believe it might have been Jason Hennessy, and he said, "If you don't have an assistant, you are the assistant." And it kind of resonates with what you've just said, where it's like, if you're doing all the work, like even if let's say you're making 10 million a month, but you're doing the actual work, you've not got that much of a business, because as soon as you get hit by a bus, let's say, that business is gone. It's not a sellable asset. But I'll talk about one of my failures, and I done drop shipping maybe about 7 years ago or something, and the reason why I failed on that is I didn't even start. Like it was kind of like one of those things where it's like you watch an entire course and you're like, oh, this is brilliant. I'm gonna make loads of money from doing this. It just didn't even start it. And yeah, I think that it's very easy to fail at something, if you don't even start. Like for example, I look back at it now and I'm like, well, I thought it was very risky. You had to pick the perfect product. You had to do this. You had to set up a Shopify store, etc., etc. I was just looking at it and I'm like, oh, there's too much things that can go wrong. And now looking back at it, it might not have been, but it could have been a asset that might have made me 60 grand, but I'll never know because I just didn't start it.
Yeah, I found the same. I actually tried drop shipping for a little bit because I was living in Chiang Mai at the time. This was, you're probably going back like maybe to 2016, 2017, something like that for me. And I remember Johnny FD was like pushing drop shipping like crazy. It was Anton's course, it was popping off. And I was just totally stuck on finding a niche. I just couldn't get my head around, okay, what's the best niche to go for? Because then you have to find a manufacturer as well. And like at that point, I just didn't want to interact with anyone. I was happy doing Fiverr gigs. You know, it's so comfortable.
That's the thing. As soon as you're in your comfort zone, you might not want to step out of your comfort zone. And the when you do step out of your comfort zone, that's when you start learning a lot of new things. So what's another failure that you've had?
Well, I actually used to run an audiobooks business.
Right. Okay.
And I was, even to this day, I can't publish any more audiobooks. This was a failure. We got banned by Amazon, and we can talk about some of the learnings from that if you want. But yeah, we sold about 30,000 audiobooks on audible.com across all sorts of crazy niches. And it was me and my best friend from Manchester that were doing it together. And so it was an amazing business. You know, even back then it was making like 6 figures a year, which is pretty good. But the biggest failure was because we relied on Amazon, and this is one thing I've learned throughout the years, is like we live in a world where we're always reliant on that intermediary. Like it could be Amazon, could be Fiverr, could be Upwork, could be LinkedIn or Google, classic example. You can get clapped at any time, and it can happen with any platform. And so you can't be over reliant on this stuff.
You need to always be diversified. That's a video that I done yesterday, and basically I was talking about different traffic sources through to your website, and obviously you've got the likes of Google SEO, like organic. You've obviously got the likes of Google PPC, so paid search, and then you also have Facebook ads. Now you can very easily get clapped on Facebook ads if you might have, I don't know, you might be selling adult products or whatever else. So just bear that in mind.
I've been clapped as well on Facebook.
Yeah. So there you go.
That was for pushing the copy too much. Like, I used to be a sales copywriter as well. I've done all sorts of stuff over the years, but just pushing it too hard, you can get clapped algorithmically for saying stuff that probably went a bit too far.
So what obviously that your Audible ebook selling business or Audible book selling service?
Audiobooks. Selling audiobooks on Audible.
That's it. Yeah. That's, to a lot of people, 6 figures. That they would think that's a successful business. What would you have done differently?
Great question. I think one of the things that I struggled with was that I was running multiple businesses at the same time. So I was like growing my agency, and my agency was taking off. And then at the same time, the audiobooks business was taking off. But one of the biggest problems here was that, and it's tied to the strengths, right? I always find strengths are tied to weaknesses. So I loved working with my best mate. Absolutely amazing. We helped a lot, and we complemented each other a lot in terms of our skill sets. But when you split everything 50-50 like that, even if you're making 6 figures, you're only making 50% of that. So it sounds really good on paper, the revenue figure and everything else. But after you count in the expenses, the team that you're hiring, the tools that you pay for, and then you split the profit by 50%, you're really not making that much.
Yeah.
That
is a good point. So here's one. Would you have been able to potentially flip that business?
I think if you were still making money today, yeah, because even today, I still get about £1,000 each month to my account. So I haven't touched it for years. I can't even log in. Can't even.
That's crazy.
I can't even change it.
Why can't you log in? Is it because Amazon's blocked you?
Yeah, so Amazon, they shut down our Kindle account, and Kindle is tied to audiobooks. So Kindle is where the ebook goes, and then on Audible, that ebook gets translated into an audiobook. But if you can't access your Kindle, you can't publish any new ebooks, which means you can't publish any new audiobooks for that ebook.
Right, yeah, that's crazy. I'll talk about my last failure and we'll wrap it up then. But probably about 4 or 5, around about the same time that I set up the dropshipping, maybe a year after, I thought I'm going to do a web design agency. So started getting some clients, which is probably the hardest part. And then, stupid me, I thought that I had to be doing all the work. So I had to be doing the sales, getting the inquiries in, doing the sales calls, and then actually building the website, because I thought that outsourcing was cheating. But again, now looking back at that, I could have probably had like a 10 grand a month, 15 grand a month web design agency, selling brochure websites if I had outsourced it. But obviously, me being me, I didn't know what outsourcing meant at the time. So yeah, that's a good lesson learned, because now I'm like, right, how can I, like, now my process is I'll figure out how to do something if I feel like I know how to do it. I'll SOP it and then I'll outsource it, whereas back then it was just I had to do everything.
Yeah, that's it. You kind of almost feel like guilty for outsourcing.
Yeah,
like, man,
yeah,
this should be
yeah.
hard. Should be harder than it is.
It's it's definitely not the case, because again, even if like you outsource something and it comes back the first time round and it's 80% how you want it, it's probably not the staff, it's probably your SOP. So you can just add in a few more steps to your SOP. Like, I don't know, call to actions need to be bigger or whatever else, and people will essentially learn from your SOPs. Like that's one thing that I've learned over the years. An SOP is never finished. So yeah, what's about moving away from the failures? Obviously now you have a pretty successful YouTube channel. You've got 70,000 subscribers.
Yeah, 78,000, mate. Come on.
Sorry, 78,000, sorry. And you also have a pretty successful agency. How did you go, or how did you pivot from your failures to deep diving into what you're doing now?
Just finding something a lot more scalable, right? So like, for example, when I was writing those blog posts, number one, even if I got a massive team of people selling content like that, it was never going to equate to 7 figures or more. Whereas, for example, with link building, it's such a productized service, and it's something that's so in demand, and everyone struggles with it. Like, even for us, we've been doing it for years and years. There'll be some situations that are really difficult, and you have to break through and figure it out and problem solve together. But just finding something scalable that you can productize, and then getting to the point where I think one of the biggest learnings for me with this agency was elimination. Like, ruthlessly eliminating everything else that was taking up my mental energy. So, for example, for me, multiple income streams, the audiobooks, the Fiverr accounts, multiple affiliate sites, putting all that to the side for at least a year, and then just focusing purely on the agency. And every single day, even now, it's like, right, how can we tweak and improve that 1%? How can we make that better? How can we problem solve this? How can we deliver better customer service? And when you have that level of focus, you build a real business and you actually build something great. And I think you can only build maybe 2 or 3 great businesses across your whole life, because it takes 5, 10, 15 years to build each business properly.
Yeah, that is very true. And then here's one, because I still suffer from this a little bit, where you might have a new idea. Do you ever, prior to even starting that new idea, start thinking about how it could possibly fail?
Yeah, so this is one thing. For example, before we launch a new service at the agency, we asked, like, if we were looking back in 3 months, how could this have failed and how can we avoid that now? And kind of like pre-mortem it I would call it a pre-mortem analysis, where we figure out, okay, what are all the challenges that we can come up with based on how we failed before, and then how can we avoid those up front.
And then, did you ever have those thoughts when you set up the YouTube channel, or when you set up initially the SEO or the link building agency?
I wasn't at that level at that
No.
point. Like, I just didn't have the experience or anyone around me to really give me that advice.
So
it's just something I've learned the hard way.
Right. Okay.
And I had a mindset coach called Itamar Marani, and each week for 6 weeks you'd have different exercises that help you handle situations like that. And one of them was on elimination, and another one was on the pre-mortem analysis.
Right. Okay. That's quite a good way of thinking about it, because even now, I still suffer from that, and I'm like, well, this could go wrong, and then I quickly need to try and think of a solution in my head. But I guess I'm subconsciously doing what you're saying. I didn't know that there was a way of actually analysing it.
There's a really good book called Essentialism, and it covers like how to think like that. And just, I think Ryan Holiday talks about it as well in his book about Stoicism. Stoicism is a way, and he talks about how to really look and future, how to look ahead and then figure out, okay, what could have gone wrong.
That's a good way of thinking about it. But yeah, thank you so much for joining me, Julian. Is there anything else that you want to add to the video?
The subscriber count was 78,400.
I'll remember that for the next time.
No,
thank you so much for joining, and as always, if you guys do enjoy this video, leave a like. If you guys do want any more of these style videos, just drop them down below. Potentially ask your questions down below as well, and I'll maybe even jump on more videos with Julian. Thanks.
Thank you.